everyone. Okay, yeah, JG Nender, welcome everyone to our day 3 of nightly events for Paryushan. Today we have our story time, and the leads today are Sahil Chikuri and Millie. So if you guys want to get started, Sahil, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sahil, and I'm here with Millie, and we are so excited that you guys decided to join us tonight. We have 4 really interesting stories for all of you, and a fun Kahoot at the very end. And the best part about all of these stories is they all have a moral, and we can all learn something really important from all of them. So after we're done with each story, we are going to ask you guys what you think the moral is. So you guys can unmute yourself or type it in the chat and just say out what you think the moral is. And after, we will tell you what we think the moral is. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it. Before we start with the first story, I'm going to pass it on to Millie for the Navkar Mantra.
Namo Arihantarnam, Namo Siddharnam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvajayanam, Namo Loe Savasahunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Savapava Parasano, Mangala Lancha Savesim, Paramam Havai Mangalam. So the first story that I'm going to be talking about is about Bhagwan Mahavir and a cow herder. One day, as Lord Mahavir was going from one place to another, he stopped near a big tree outside the village to meditate. While he was meditating, a cow herder came there with his cows. He needed someone to look after the cows so he could go run and do some errands. He asked Mahavir Swami if he would look after the cows for just a few hours. Lord Mahavir was at the time. However, the cow herder went away thinking that Lord Mahavir would the cows. In the meantime, the cow started wandering away. His amazement, all Lord Mahavir became very angry at Lord Mahavir because he thought that Lord Mahavir was hiding his cows from him. So he took out his rope and was about to whip Mahavir Swami with it. Just then, an angel from heaven came down and held the rope. "Can't you see that Lord Mahavir is in deep meditation?" asked the angel. "But he tricked me," said the cowherder. The angel replied, "He is a god. He does not care for your cows or anything else in this world. He was in meditation and did not hear you. He did not do anything so he apologized to Lord Mahavir and went away silently. The angel went back to heaven feeling happy that she could help Lord Mahavir's suffering. Mahavir Swami didn't have any bad feelings toward the cowherder because he held no anger towards anyone. Does anyone want to share what they think the moral of this story is?
You can raise your hand or put it in the chat box as well. Okay, I think someone raised their hand.
I think Pragya Jain has.
Moral of the story is like no matter what situation, you should always like stay calm.
We have another moral in the chat as well, and they said, I think the moral of the story is that we should always think before acting. So you guys are both definitely correct. What I thought the moral of the story was that just like Mahavir Swami, we have to learn the importance of self-control. Meditation is very hard for most of us to do because we can be distracted by worldly objects. But in this case, Mahavir Swami was in complete control of himself, so he did not react when the cowherder got angry with him and threatened to hurt him. Along with this, something we should take away from the cowherder is to not make hasty decisions because sometimes they can be wrong. It's not right for us to be angry for absolutely no reason because we should always be able to practice forgiveness and self-control. It's also never right to threaten to hurt someone or even think about wanting to hurt someone. If we get rid of all these negative and bad thoughts, we can stop new karmas from coming to our soul.
Awesome. So, I think that was something really important that we can take. Moving on, the story of Chandanbala. There once was a beautiful princess named Basumati. One day, war broke out between the king of Champapuri and the king of a nearby city. It was a sad war. Vasumati's father could not win the war, so he had to run away in despair. When Vasumati and her mother learned they had lost the war, they also decided to escape. While they were running away in the woods, a soldier from the enemy's army spotted them and captured both of them. Vasumati and her mother were scared. They didn't know what the soldier would do to them. He told the mother that he would marry her and that he would sell Vasumati. Upon hearing this, the queen went into shock and died. The soldier immediately felt sorry for his remark and decided not to make any more hateful comments. He kidnapped and took Vasumati to sell her. When Vasumati's turn came to be sold as a slave, a merchant named Danva happened to be passing by. Girl, sold as a slave, what would her fate be? So out of compassion for her, Danva bought Vasumati, freed her from slavery, and took her home. On the way home, he asked, "Who are you?" Vasumati didn't reply. About Vasumati. "My dear," he said, "I have brought this girl home. She has not said anything about her past. Please treat her like our daughter." Vasumati was relieved. She thanked the merchant and his wife with respect. The merchant's family was very happy with her. They named her Chandanbala since she wouldn't tell anyone her real name. While staying at the merchant's house, Chandanbala's attitude was that of a daughter. This made the merchant very happy. Mula, on the other hand, was wondering what her husband would do with Chandanbala. She thought he would marry her because of her beauty. Therefore, Mula was never comfortable with Chandanbala around. One sunny day, when the merchant came home from his shop, the servant usually washed his feet was not there. Chandanbala noticed this and felt delighted to get a chance to wash his feet for all the fatherly good things he had done for her. While she was busy washing the merchant's feet, her hair slipped out of the hairpin. The merchant saw this and felt that her hair might get dirty, so he lifted her hair and clipped it on the back of her head. His wife, Mula, saw all of this and was outraged. She felt that her doubts about Chandanbala were true. Mula decided to get rid of Chandanbala as soon as possible because she was enraged with jealousy. When Danva went on a 3-day business trip, his wife took the chance to get rid of Chandanbala. Right away, she called a barber to cut off all of Chandanbala's beautiful hair. Then she tied Chandanbala's legs with heavy chains and locked her into a distant room, away from the main area of the house. Then Mula left to go to her parents' house. When Danva returned back from his trip, He didn't see either Mullah or Chandanbala. He asked the servants about them. The servants told him that Mullah was at her parents' house, but they didn't tell him where Chandanbala was because of their fear of Mullah. He asked the servants in a worried tone, "Where is my daughter Chandanbala? You better speak up now, because if you are hiding the truth, then you will be fired." Still, nobody replied. He was very upset and didn't know what to do. After a few minutes, an older servant thought, "I am an old woman and will soon die anyway because of age. What is the worst Mullah can do anyway?" So, out of compassion for Chandanbala and sympathy for the merchant, she told him all about what Mullah did to Chandanbala. She took the merchant to the room where Chandanbala was locked up. Danva unlocked the door and saw Chandanbala. He was shocked when he saw her. He told Chandanbala, "My dear daughter, I will get you out of here. You must be hungry. Let me find some food for you." He went to the kitchen to find food for her. He found that there was no food left, but only some dried lentils in a pan. The merchant decided to feed her for the time being. So he took them to Chandanbala. He told her he was going to get a blacksmith to cut off the heavy chains, so he left. Chandanbala was amazed at how things were going. She started wondering how fate could change life from rich to almost helpless. Chandanbala then thought of offering lentils to someone else before eating. She got up and walked to the door, and stood there with one foot outside and one inside. To her surprise, she saw a monk walking near her room. She said, "Oh, respected monk, please accept this food which is suitable for you." But the monk, Lord Mavir, had taken a vow to fast until a person who met certain conditions and offered him food. His conditions were, the person who would be offering should be a princess, she should be bald-headed, she should be in chains, she should offer uncooked lentils, and she should have one foot inside the house and the other outside, and she should be in tears. Therefore, Lord Mavir looked at her and noticed that one of his conditions was still missing. She met all conditions except the tears in her eyes, and therefore Lord Mavir went on. Chandanbala felt very sad, and tears started running down her face. She was sad that even though she had the chance to offer food to the monk, he would not accept it. In her crying voice, she once again requested the monk to accept the food. Lord Mavir saw the tears in her eyes and came back to accept the food, knowing that his conditions were met. Chandanbala put the lentils in Lord Mavir's hand, and he felt satisfied. While Lord Mavir was looking for his preconditioned person, he fasted for 5 months and 25 days. Heavenly angels celebrated the end of Lord Mavir's fasting. Suddenly, because of the angel's power, Chandanbala's chains were broken, her hair grew back, and she was dressed as a princess. Loud music and celebration drew the attention of a king. He came to this place with his family, ministers, and other people. Sampul, an old servant, recognized Chandanbala. He walked towards her, bowed, and broke out into tears. The king asked, "Why are you crying?" Sampul replied, "My king, this is Vasumati, the princess of Champapuri and daughter of King Dadivan and Queen Darini." The king and queen now recognized her and invited her to live with them. So she went. But first she went to thank the merchant Danva, who was so kind to her. Later on, when Lord Mavir attained the perfect knowledge, he re-established the fourfold order of the Jain Sangh. At that time, Chandanbala took Diksha and became the first sadhvi. At the end of her life, Chandanbala achieved liberation. So that was the end of the second story. If anyone wants to say what the moral is, then you can go ahead and chat or say it.
you guys can comment or raise your hand or anything, just get someone's attention.
Well, I think the story shows the importance of compassion and consideration. I think those two are really important. Although Chandanbala's life was always extremely difficult, she decided to give up her first taste of food, the lentils, so that she could give them to Mahavir Swami. Because of this, people ended up recognizing her, and she was able to go back to her life as princess where she was happy and content. When you do good karma and help others out, eventually the good karma will come back to you and help you out. What is also important to recognize is that Chandanbala eventually took Diksha and became the first sadhu. She was so inspired by her experiences in life and meeting Mahavir Bhagwan that at the end of it, she tried her best to achieve liberation, and she did.
Three
We have,
people in the chat stated what they thought the moral was. Shrey Mehta said, I think the moral is to never take actions to think you are to things you're not sure of. And yes, that definitely is right. And Pragya Jain said, I think the moral is that you should not be jealous like Mula, and you should be compassionate like Dhanava. And that's also right. And then Krisha and Kibble said, I think the moral of the story is that even if you are poor, you can become happy if you do good deeds. And that also is right.
Yeah, so I really hope you guys enjoyed that story. Don't feel shy to tell us what you think of the story in the chat or unmute yourself. But with that said, we can move on to the next story.
Before I move on, does anyone have anything to say about the Chandanbala story?
Okay, Ashna does.
Kaden does as well. Kaden does believes it as well.
Yeah, sorry, it's his sister Ashna that wants to say something.
I learned about the princess.
And what about the princess? That even though she was hungry, she gave the food to Mari Bhagwan. That's right. Say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we're gonna move on to the third story of Gautam Swami. In 607 BC, in the village of Gobargan, a Brahmin couple named Vasubhuti and Prithvi Gautam had a son named Indrabhuti. He was tall and handsome, and he had two younger brothers named Agnibhuti and Vayubhuti. All three were well versed in the Vedas and other rituals at an early age. They were very popular and great scholars in the state of Magad. Each one of them had 500 disciples. Once in the city of Apapa, a Brahmin named Somil was conducting a sacrificial ceremony at his home. There were over 4,000 Brahmins present at the occasion, and there were 11 popular scholars among them. Indrapati stood out as a bright star. Somil was a supporter of the Brahmin philosophy and was very happy during the ceremony. The whole town was excited by this event in which they were going to sacrifice the sheep and the goats. Suddenly, Somil noticed many celestial beings coming down towards his sacrificial site. He thought that this would make his offering ceremony the most popular in history. He told the people, look at the sky. Even the angels are coming to bless us. The whole town was eagerly looking at the sky. To their surprise, the celestial beings did not stop at their sight. Instead, they went further down. So Somil's ego melted away as he learned that the celestial beings paid homage to Lord Mahavir, who was at the nearby Mahasan forest. Indrabhuti was outraged by this incident, and his ego was extremely bruised. He started thinking to himself, who is this Mahavir who does not even use affluent Sanskrit, but speaks the common public language? Everyone in the ceremony was overpowered by the mere presence of Lord Mahavir. Indrabhuti once again thought, Mahavir opposes animal sacrifices, and if he succeeds, then we Brahmins will lose our livelihood. I will debate with him. So, Indrabhuti left to go challenge Lord Mahavir. Mahavir welcomed Indrabhuti by calling him by his name, even though they had never met before. Indrabhuti was surprised, and then he said to himself, I'm not surprised he knew my name. I wonder if he knows what I'm thinking. Mahavir knew what was going on through Indrabhuti's mind. Indrabhuti, even a great scholar, had a doubt about the existence of the soul and was thinking to himself, can Mahavir tell that I doubt the existence of the soul? Right then, in the next moment, Mahavir said, Indrabhuti, the soul is there and you should not question it. Indrabhuti was shocked and began to think very highly of Mahavir. Then they had a philosophical discussion, and Indrabhuti changed his beliefs and he became Mahavir's first and chief disciple. Indrabhuti was about 50 years old at that time, and from then on, he was called Gautam Swami. Meanwhile, in the town, Somil and the other scholars were waiting to greet the expected winner of the debate, Indrabhuti. They were shocked to learn that Indrabhuti had become the disciple of Mahavir. The other 10 Brahmin scholars also went to debate with Mahavir at that time and also became his disciples instantly, the same way as Indrabhuti. The people present at Somil's palace began to leave, and Somil canceled the ceremony and turned all of the animals loose. One time, Gautam Swami was going back after getting food, and he noticed many people going in another direction. He asked them what was going on. They said, we are going to see Anand Shavak. He has been performing austerities and has attained a special knowledge. Anand Shravak was Mahavir's follower, so Gautam Swami decided to go and visit him. When Anand saw Gautam Swami coming to his house, he was very happy that his spiritual teacher was coming. However, even though he was very weak due to his austerities, he got up and welcomed Gautam Swami. Gautam Swami inquired about his condition. Anand replied, with your blessings, I am fine. After some time, Anand told Gautam Swami with respect, Teacher, I have attained avijnan because of what I can see as high as the 14th heaven and as low as the 7th hell. Gautam Swami thought, a Shrava can attain avijnan but not to this extent. Aloud, he told Anand, you should do atonement for your imagination. Anand was puzzled. He knew what he could see, but his teacher told him to atone for telling that. So he politely asked Gautam Swami, does one have to atone for telling the truth? Gautam Swami replied, no, and then left the palace thinking, I will reconfirm this with Lord Mahavir. Gautam Swami returned to Lord Mahavir, who was sitting with his other disciples, and asked about Anand. Mahavir said, Gautam, Anand was telling the truth. How could a person like you, with so much knowledge, make such a grave mistake? You should atone for your mistake. Mahavir believed in the truth, and he would never cover up the mistake of his disciple just to make their group look good. Gautam Swami put his alms aside and immediately went to Anand's house to ask for forgiveness for his doubt. Anand was proud of his humble teacher who did not mind admitting his fault to his followers. On another occasion, Gautam Swami went to the town for alms. He was returning with the kheer in a bowl when he saw 1,500 hermits. Gautam Swami felt that they were hungry and offered them the kheer. They began to wonder how Gautam Swami would feed all of them. Gautam Swami requested that all of the hermits sit down, and then he served everyone the kheer. While serving the kheer, he put his thumb in the kheer. To everyone's surprise, they were all well served from the small bowl. The hermits were all so impressed by Gautam Swami that all 1,500 decided to take Diksha for Lord Mahavir. Many sadhus, including those hermits, attained Kevalgyan, but Gautam Swami was still unable to achieve it. He was worried that he would never attain Kevalgyan. One day, Gautam Swami asked Lord Mahavir, there were 11 of us who accepted Diksha at the same time, and most of them have attained Kevalgyan. Why am I so unlucky that I am not able to attain Kevalgyan? Lord Mahavir replied, Gautam, you have too much affection for me. In order to attain Gebagnan, you must overcome the attachment. So until you give up your attachment towards me, it would not be possible for you to attain Gebagnan. On the day when Mahavir was to attain liberation, Mahavir sent Gautam Swami out to preach to a man named Dev Sharma. On his way back, Gautam Swami learned that Lord Mahavir had attained Nirvana and reached moksha. Gautam Swami went into a state of shock and sorrow, lamenting, Lord Mahavir knew this was going to happen. Why did he send me away? Gautam Swami could not stop his tears and started weeping. Within a few moments, he came back to his senses and began thinking, maybe this was destined to happen this way. No one can live forever. No relationship is permanent. Why was I so attached to Mahavir? He contemplated that he was wrong and gave up attachment for Mahavir. During his deep thinking, he burned his Gati karmas and attained Kevalnag at the age of 80. Does anyone want to share what they think the moral of the story is?
Anjal, I think
Anjal replied.
She said nothing is permanent. And yes, that's very true. So what I thought the moral of the story was that Gautam Swami's story shows how important it is to not feel attachment to any worldly objects, relationships, or person. The only thing stopping Gautam Swami from reaching Kevagnan was his attachment to Mahavir Swami. But as soon as he realized that that actually was the obstacle he had to overcome, he shed the rest of his karmas and attained Kevagnan. Along with this story shows us his trust and not have doubt about the teachings and philosophies of Jainism. Right after Mahavir Bhagwan proved himself to Indrabhuti, he instantly converted and became a loyal disciple of Mahavir Bhagwan.
Shri Mehta also posted on the chat what he thought the moral was.
So Pragya Jain said, you should not have attachment for people because one day we will have to go. And yes, that is actually very true. That's what Gautam Swami shows. Shri Mehta said, never have too much affection for others and instead help them get through obstacles to achieve the right goal. That's also true. Pragya Jain again said, but it's not like you should hate someone either. True, because we learned that if we hate someone, we would get bad karma. And then I think Veer from Sweta Ranavat said that you have to admit your fault. That's also very true. Does anyone want to share their opinion about this story?
Nirbigna Shah said that nothing is permanent.
My name is Nimit.
So I'm really glad you guys liked that story. And we are going to move on with the last story for tonight. This story is called Vipul and Vihan. In the forest of Pratistan, there lived a fortune teller well known for predicting future events. Many times, the people of the village gathered around him and asked for predictions. Even though the fortune teller did not always like to satisfy their curiosity, the fortune teller kept moving deeper and deeper into the jungle until people stopped looking for him. Two friends, Vipul and Vihan, got lost in the jungle on their way to Pratistan. They feared for their lives in the dark and looked for shelter. Late in the night, they saw a hut and approached it with fear and uneasiness. They peeped into the hut and saw a fortune teller deep in meditation. They assumed that he was the fortune teller known for his predictions. They waited until the fortune teller completed his meditation and then told him their story about getting lost in the forest. The fortune teller heard their story and offered them fruits. The compassionate fortune teller told them to rest. The next morning, the fortune teller requested one of his disciples to show them the way to the village. However, before Vipul and Vihan left, they folded their hands and asked the fortune teller to tell them their future. The fortune teller declined politely, telling them that it was not advisable to know their future, and sometimes predictions may prove to be wrong. Both friends insisted, and at last the fortune teller told them their future. He looked at Vipul and told him he would become a king within a year, while Vihan would die at the hands of an assassin during the same time. Outside the forest, Vipul could not contain his joy, while Vihan was very gloomy. It was only natural. Back in their town, Vipul behaved arrogantly and told everyone that if they misbehaved, he would chop off their heads when he became king. Everyone in the village was afraid of him. Meanwhile, Vihan, a teacher, went about his work with great devotion and spent a lot of time in prayers and social work. He was humble to all and eventually overcame his sadness. He no longer feared death, but surrendered himself to his destiny. 6 months later, Vipul asked Vihan to accompany him to select the site of his future palace. Both were surveying a deserted region when Vipul stumbled across a pot full of gold coins. He was joyous and told Vihan that he was going to use the money to buy a crown. Right then, a robber jumped out of the bushes and tried to snatch the pot. Vihan came to his friend's rescue, and the robber attacked him with a dagger. Vihan was experienced in defensive tactics and drove off the robber, although he received a cut on the shoulder. The grateful Vipul offered his friend half of the gold, but Vihan politely refused, saying he was going to die soon and would have no use for the gold. Vipul spent the money irrationally and squandered it in eating and drinking. A full year passed. Vipul did not become a king, and Vihan did not die. Both friends went back to the fortune teller in search of an explanation. The fortune teller was in meditation. He said to Vipul, "Your destiny changed because your thoughtless actions over the year. The crown that was meant to come to you reduced to a simple pot of gold, which you found in the field." Then he said to Vihan, "Your prayers, humility, and trust in religion changed your destiny too. Death by the hands of an assassin was changed to a mere wound." The two friends returned to the village, thoughtful of their actions and the results and the meaning of life. So if you guys want to say what the moral is, you can type in the chat or say it out loud. I'll give you guys a minute just so you guys can type it.
Pragya Jain said, one's destiny is decided by one's karma.
Yeah, that's completely true. I think the story shows us that everything in our lives is connected to karmas, whether they are good or bad. You get karma every time you think, do, or say something, and these actions that you do now can greatly affect your future and even other lives. Like as we saw in the story, Vipul and Vihan changed their behavior, knowing their fate. One changed for the worse and the other for the better. Because Vipul was arrogant and rude about his destiny, he started to get a lot of bad karma, and that eventually impacted his future in a bad way. On the other hand, humility, prayers, and faith in his religion led to good karma, which impacted Vihan's future in a positive way. Just like this, we should all strive to behave in a way that will promote our good karma in our current and future lives so that we experience the least amount of pain or suffering.
There's more people who want to say what they think the moral is. Krisha and Keval said, don't be arrogant or things will go wrong. Dia said, I think the moral of the story is that knowing your future is very harmful to others and yourself. Shrey said, Once you know your future, it doesn't mean you stop doing good things. Keep on doing good things. Manali said, the moral is do not be obsessed. Grishma said, don't count your chickens before they hatch. I think that's a really good analogy. Hansika said, your actions decide your destiny. The way you act is the way your future will be impacted. Laksh said, or one's destiny depends on the act of their soul. Puri said, always be helpful. Your good actions have good consequences. And finally, Deep said, your karma's results can come into action or take place anytime, even in your current life, and change your destiny. Those are all definitely really good morals, and I think they fit this story very well.
Awesome. So moving on, now that we've all read and listened to these 4 stories, we have a short Kahoot for all of you guys. So I will share you guys the code and you guys can all participate. The code is 219550.
Excuse me, can I just write it down real quickly?
Sure.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Do you know what is this Kahoot thing anyway?
Kahoot is going to be about all the stories we just read.
Okay. What else? Oh, you have to join right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. 219550. 219550. 2195.
All right, so I'm going to start it in a few seconds. All right, first question is, what did the cowherder ask Mahavir Swami to do? All right, we got Joe, 20, in the lead. Next question is, what was Mahavir Swami's reaction when the cowherder came back from running errands and got angry with him? Awesome, yeah. So Mahavir Swami did nothing because he was meditating and he wasn't able to hear the cowherder.
Excuse me, I can't join on Kahoot because I had to download it and then I had to use another device. So I'm just guessing from the screen.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Hey, Ayu.
What would happen to the cowherder if he ended up whipping Magraswamy while he was in meditation? Yes, he would have gotten a lot of bad karma, is correct, because when Magraswamy was in meditation, the cow herder was really angry and he wanted to hit him with his rope. And if he did that, then he would get a lot of bad karma, and we know that that would affect him later in his life. Why did the fortune teller move deeper and deeper into the jungle? He wanted to get away from people who were looking for him. That is correct, because a lot of people were using the fortune teller for his powers, and he wanted time alone so he can meditate. What were Vipul and Vihan's reaction after the fortune teller told them about their futures? Good. Looks like most of you got the right answer. Vipul was very happy, but Vihan was extremely sad because they got really different futures. In the lead, we have Aditya Jain with 4,726 points. Why did Vipul and Vihan's future and fate end up changing? Good, you guys all mostly got this one right too. Vipul was arrogant and Vihan gained faith in praying and became modest. So they all both had different types of karmas, and that changed their future.
The next question is, how did Thanava meet Vasumati or Chandanbala? Most of you got it right. It was because he met her where she was going to be sold as a slave and took her. The next question is, why was Mullah always jealous of Chandanbala? It was because Chandanbala was extremely beautiful while Mullah really wasn't. That's right. The next question is, why did Bhagwan Mahavir end up accepting the lentils from Chandanbala? That's right. She fit all of the conditions that he had of accepting the food. Now we're on to the last story, and so this question is, how did Irmudi instantly convert to the teachings and philosophy of Mahavir Bhagwan? Mahavir Bhagwan had read his mind and answered his doubts about the soul. That's right. Why did Gautam Swami have to beg for Anand's forgiveness? He had not believed him when he, in fact, was telling the truth. That's right. And the last question is, how did Gautam Swami finally achieve Gevagna? He realized that he had to give up his attachment for Mahavir Swami. Good job, everyone.
All right, in third place we have Hari, Neil and Rohan in second place, and in first place we have Kiwi. Well, I really hope you guys had a lot of fun with story time today. I know me and Millie had a lot of fun hosting. I hope you guys come back tomorrow for our event tomorrow. It's going to be Jeopardy tomorrow at 8 o'clock, 8:30. And it's going to be really fun, so I hope you guys can make it.
Yeah. Awesome. Special thanks to Sahil and Millie for putting this on.
Can I leave now?
And like they said, we hope to see everyone tomorrow again at 8:30 for our Jeopardy event. This will be a really interactive event, and it's a lot of, it's games. So everyone will have a lot of fun.